Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay. So if somebody can't, all they need is get a few positive confirmations. Then if anyone else can't, it's got to be an issue there on their end. So, so at least we know it's kind of working from that aspect. So, all right. Well, welcome aboard here. To what is it? Stat 2305, right? I think I'm in the right place. So let's see. Let's get the show started here. Hope you had a nice first week of classes and whatnot. And share the screen here for you. And then I'll bring up, let's go into the Blackboard page. Oh, all right. And I'll start with the syllabus, and then I'll kind of show you around the Blackboard content a little bit, talk about my math lab, and then actually cover a couple of short sections there today. So, and that's pretty much roadmap for week one here. All right. Okay, so let's open that up, see what we got here. All right. At 2305, there's the CRN, and there's the meeting time and location, which is where I'll be next week. And my name's Smalley. That won't be on the test or anything, but let's see. I'll plan on coming in before class if you want to pop in early to ask questions and stuff. And I don't even mind staying afterwards, although I can't imagine the staying afterwards is probably that appealing for you, but it doesn't really bother me that much. So you want to ask, especially if it's something that we learned in that particular lesson or whatever that you were curious about, but yeah, I don't even mind sticking around a little bit afterwards. But if you pop in early, want some help, we can do that. Now the My Math Lab is going to be the homework component of this course. And that's also where the final exam might be located again this semester. Unless I change it up a little bit, the regular exams I'll probably just have in Blackboard. But the final exam generally has been departmental, and they put it in, and it would be too much of a hassle for me to redo it in Blackboard. Yeah, I don't really want to move exams from Blackboard to this thing either, vice versa. So you'll need a confirmation number when your course ID number when you sign up. And there it is in red right there. I've seen that some people have already signed up, so evidently that did work. We'll be using Microsoft Excel in this class. I'll have to answer this direct message thing later here. Let me get going with I'd be a lot better with an email or something, or let me answer it afterwards. Or maybe you'll hear the answer as I talk through I can't stop to get any long detailed answer. If you pop up a quick chat question, I'll generally answer it, but not if it requires like a big long explanation. I can't interrupt the show for that. I can wait to the end to address that though. But let's see. Well, don't worry about the phone or the tablet, that part, because that's going to be irrelevant for this class. But we will be using Excel from time to time. Yeah, you'll see things done with both that TI 84 calculator or any family spouting off of it, like Inspire and all that kind of stuff. It does a lot of good things. I'm going to show you things in both that and Excel, so you'll be able to use either one that you want to use. The 84 calculator is very good for a lot of things there, but it's not mandatory. But it can be helpful. Maybe somebody you know has one that's not taking a math class this semester, and if you don't have one, and can loan it to you or something. But that's, like I said, that's not mandatory. Let's see. It's just helpful. All right, I'm not going to read this. Blah 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 blah. Okay, that's the textbook, but the textbook is contained in the My Math Lab. It's not anything that's required separately. The My Math Lab has dual function there. It contains the homework problems, which are part of the grade, and it also contains a textbook right in there with it. So, all right, let's see. I don't know that tutoring facility up on the 9th floor. Yeah, I have no idea at this time what hours. I can look into it, but what hours they're going to be operating, you know, I don't know all the COVID stuff. I don't know what's going on anymore, but I think that I know it used to be by appointment. I don't know if they're taking walk-ins or maybe it's still by appointment. I'm just not sure, because it used to be back in the old days, and I used to work there, and you know, students would just walk right in, you know, as long as it was during the hours, you know, for help. But now it might be appointment based. I don't know.
Professor,
Yes.
I received an email from them saying that they have statistics tutors available, but it is by appointment and through Zoom sessions.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. Okay. So that clarifies that. And that doesn't surprise me, because I think that's what they did last semester, I believe. So thank you. That's good information. So yeah, okay, it will be, you'll have to contact them. And I guess, like she says, it's even via Zoom. You can't even go up in there anymore, I guess, or whatever. I don't know, but kind of a shame. But yeah, okay, that's good to know. Let's see. All right, how we get a grade in this class? The homework will be 20% of the grade. The exams individually are also 20% of the grade, but I'm dropping the lowest of the three. So then your best one's worth 20%. Your second best one's worth 20%. So the exams together make 40%. So dropping the lowest exam, it doesn't matter whether you know, if you did poorly or you just didn't take it. Some people every once in a while will ask me, they get nervous that they get penalized if they don't take an exam. No, that's not the case at all. I mean, there's no difference between if you had exam scores of 90, 90, and 70 versus 90, 90, and 0. There's absolutely no difference between that, because your two best scores would be the 90. So you're not penalized for not taking it. So yeah, I just want to make sure nobody worries about that, at least anyway. The Excel assignment, or some might just be one assignment. It's not too difficult. It's not too bad. We'll worry about that later in the semester. We still have to learn more content, but it's not super, long, and that's not that bad. And it's 15% of the grade, so that's a pretty good percentage of the grade, considering it's not all that difficult. And it's not easy to make 100 on, but it's not hard. In other words, so you're not going to spend like 2 weeks doing it, whatever, just to make an 80 or anything. So let's see. And then the final exam will be 25%. All right, so I'm going to not read all this. This is all the stuff we're going to be learning in this class. So I don't see any point in me reading that right now. There's no actual extra credit assignments. You should, my grade distribution is usually pretty good. You put in the effort and have reasonable skills, you should be able to do well in this class. It's not that impossible to make, by any means, to make a good grade in this class. Academic calendar, I guess, is that still the right? Yeah, we're still in 21. Okay. Here's that about the N925. Oh, I did have it in my syllabus. Okay. Oh, in our office or on Zoom, but like the person said there, I think it's only Zoom here. So I guess I did have some information there, but all right. Now, okay, it's just a bunch of other stuff. If you want to read it, don't want to read it. Now let me go back up here. I'm going to do like I did last semester. The exams are going to be taken at home or on your own time. Now they don't have to be proctored, but you will have a time limit. It's a pretty good time limit. Nobody's ever complained about not having enough time, whatever. For sometimes it might be like 3 hours for like 20 questions, or 3.5 hours or whatever. So plenty of time. So you won't have the questions in advance, but you'll just you'll see them when you start the exam, and then you'll complete the exam in one sitting. So we're going to do those at home. And also that ties back in, then I don't have an attendance mandatory policy. So if you come, that's great. If you don't, you're not penalized. Although that's what I did last semester. So I had some regulars that would come every week, and a lot of people I never saw, and so that was okay. But nobody did this last semester. But then then you can't wait to the end of the semester and complain because you didn't come to class or whatever. But nobody did that or whatever. So it's kind of like some people just come and not come and come back again. I'll talk about these lecture videos I already have. So it didn't have to. Some people came regularly, and then some just kind of off and on, and that's certainly. Now I will say this though, if you kind of come off and on, you want to kind of be up to date with where we are in the material, or from the previous week, or you might be there when I'm teaching the class and you're not getting as much out of it because you weren't there for the previous, or you didn't, whether you were there or not, you could have watched the video for the previous one. So keep that in mind. If you don't come every time, try to be up to speed where we are, just so you're not sitting there completely lost. Then you can say, dang, I should have just stayed home then if I wasn't ready for this lecture or whatever. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, anytime you want to attend, you kind of want to be up to speed where we are, just for your benefit. Doesn't matter to me. I don't like call out people and pick on people. I don't do any nonsense like that. It's just for your own benefit, so you don't sit there and go, oh, I don't know what's going on here or whatever. Oh, if I watch it after, then they watch the previous video and go, oh, now I know what's going on. So attendance is essentially optional. I don't know what's going to happen for the final exam just yet. The final exam is one that might be mandatory to take in person, but we don't have to worry about that right now. But I'm just letting you know that is a possibility. But I'm guaranteeing you that my 3 regular exams will not be that way. So just keep that in the back of your mind, that might be an option for the final. You're definitely safe on the three regular exams. And what I do is I kind of open them up for, whatever 4 or 5 day period or something like that. You just have to take it somewhere in that time frame, essentially, right around the time that I would have given it in class, essentially, based on the pattern. I don't have any calendar dates made up or anything yet, but when I go on the Blackboard here, back to Blackboard in just a second, I'll kind of show you, how you can sort of, see when it's coming. Nothing's going to be a surprise in this class. There are no quizzes or assignments or anything like that. But I've got everything laid out here. I need to revise this file on the homework average. That's why you can't see it yet. I need to look it over and check it out, and a few things. And Excel assignment, I'm going to not open that up just yet either, because there's no point. We have to learn. We have to learn some stuff first. But obviously, I want all the lectures, and the same thing with the exams and all that stuff. So some of that stuff you're going to see here in the future, but not anything. Now the Zoom meeting is just where I go in to set up meetings. Here, well, actually, let me come down here to the lecture notes first. And you can see they're organized by folder. So there's no mystery on, for example, well, what content's going to be on exam 1? Okay, which that's certainly a legitimate question. That's a fair question, but you can answer that yourself so easily by going right into this folder and seeing what's in there. That's oh, my notes. Well, I haven't really updated the notes much. There's no really need to. I haven't done anything different. But there you go. It's all contained. It's self-contained in the folder. So there's no mystery, no surprises. Nothing's gonna. Let me see if this is like a quick chat question I can answer here. Let's see. All right. I'm about to answer that about the lectures. I'm not probably going to record them now. I'm going to use the recordings that I've already got. There's no point in probably recording them again. I'm recording this one actually though, but I don't think there's anything you need to re-record them. They're basically going to be the same thing. If when I do that, it's just really serious content change, or I didn't like one of the videos or something. But anyway, here's the notes. And we're going to do this basic terms and definitions here and the first two things here in a minute. So those are all organized. Now, yeah, so I'm just going to use, except for today's, I'm going to post today's, but Zoom meeting recordings. Yeah, they're not from this semester, but they're just as good. I'm not going to say anything magical this semester that I haven't passed. So you see the meetings then are, tells you what sections are covered in the meeting. So for example, I know that fourth one looks like a lot of stuff, but there's like a couple of sections in there that are really maybe like a page or something like that, or not much to it. So easy to get through it quick. Now, let's see. So this tells you based on the way that notes folder is set up, Zoom meeting 4, which just doesn't really count. Yeah, this is Zoom meeting 1, really. So somewhere shortly after about that fourth one, well, I'll announce it before then, but that's when you can expect the first exam to appear somewhere, maybe about a week after that or something like that. So that's how you can sort of pace yourself on when tests are coming up. See, I don't have these organized, by maybe I might do that. I don't know, but by exam folder. But it's not hard to match these up, by the exams, by the which let's say, for example, let's see, content lecture notes for exam 2. We have this material. Let's see, 4.1 all the way down to 6.1 part 1. There's actually a part 3 to this. That's on exam 3's notes. But let me go back over here and show you that with the recordings. So obviously that would start with 5. Yeah, so this one, it looks like they're in blocks of 4. Oh, that even gives it a pattern there. So it looks like 5 through 8 is the material for exam 2. And then the rest of them will be the material for exam 3. Oh, okay. They form in nice little blocks of 4 there. So after every 4th Zoom lecture there, that's around the time you would expect the, obviously it won't, the exam won't be available just like the day we finished. So you need time to, study and prepare, of course. So that's what I'm saying, like roughly maybe a week after that or something like that. So, so we'll set it up across some certain time period, and I'll still be lecturing, normal and stuff. I usually will have a online Zoom. I mean, you can obviously, if you're in class, you can come ask me whatever you want. But sometimes right before the exam period, I'll usually have just an optional. I know, it's hard to pick a time that's convenient for everybody, but I'll sort of create like a open Zoom meeting, where anybody can just pop in if they want to ask questions, that sort of thing. So like obviously I'll announce that when it comes time for a test, but because you need time obviously to look over the material to be able to know, what you want to ask, that sort of thing. So I think that answers the question about the recordings or whatever. So they're already here. I don't have to worry about doing them again necessarily. I don't really see the point. All right, because I haven't changed my policies or anything since then. So, all right, let's go back to course content. So you got notes, you got Zoom meeting recordings. And then other stuff that'll be opening later, nothing to worry about just yet. You got exam reviews. I got to edit these exam reviews a little bit. I can't remember if it's the second one that's kind of messed up a little bit, or well, I'm gonna go through and look at all of them real carefully, but I'll work on that in the next week or two. And I need to, yeah, I need to kind of play around with this a little bit. Um, but anyway, that's going to be, a resource for you. Now the exams aren't going to be, somewhere between, but maybe 25 problems at the most. They're going to be multiple choice, 20 to 25 range. So don't panic when you look at the review and see that it maybe has like 60 problems or something like that. That's not, no need for you to be upset. I always do that because it's better to put more on a review to give you, more things to look at and more practice, that sort of thing. So don't panic that the exams are going to be that long by any means. So anyway, like this, let's see what this first one has, just out of curiosity. What it's got. Oh, that's not the right one. Why is that? Oh, yeah, let me go back to exam one. Yeah, this needs to be edited seriously, so I got to work on that here soon. Now I have a bunch of true false here. That as I mentioned up here, I don't put true false really on the test, but they're good terminology questions, ideas that could be phrased as a multiple choice question. So you kind of would want to know, why it's true or why it's false for multiple choice purposes. This is going to have, yeah, you see this one's got what? That one has 60. Yeah, so your test will be nowhere near 60. But you don't turn these in anyway. So the only thing that's actually rated as far as that go is the My Math Lab homework, but that's strictly just test preparation stuff, nothing that's a required assignment or anything like that. So, all right, so let's see. I don't think it's too much stuff in charts and tables. That's not even going to come up until somewhere in the second exam unit. Just some things we're going to be using then. So you're free to look at it, but it's not going to accomplish much right now. So there's not a lot of stuff in here. I don't think that it's too hard to find your way around or anything like that. Should be pretty easy. I remember years ago, couple years ago, whatever it was, when this used to be stat 3309, and so it was like 2/3 of the way in the semester. I remember somebody asking me, "Do you have exam reviews for this course?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we got a whole person next to them was kind of chuckling a little bit, but we got like they never bothered to just kind of open it up and look, whatever. But I don't think it's too hard to find stuff in here or whatever. It's not like nested in 20 different sub levels or anything like that. So it's kind of all right in your face here, I think. So I don't know. What else? Always check for announcements that I may make, whatever. So a lot of you did a good job with that already by making it here today. So you're off to a good start. So you're paying attention. That's always an excellent thing to do. Well done. All right. So what I usually do is I still want to go a little further though, but normal day I don't know. I'll see if I can. Yeah, I probably won't take a short break, but definitely start meeting class. I'll talk, do for a little bit, and then we're still going to finish a little early today, but I'll talk and then take a short break and then proceed. So I'll see how we do. Yeah, we'll probably still do that here. I'll just do the break probably a little quicker than I would in a normal class. So I'm gonna do my best to try not to keep you there on 9:45 every night, but sometimes doing those homework, I do homework problems during the lecture, so that kind of makes it run, a little long. But I think that's to your benefit also, doing those working. I don't work every homework problem, but I pick a couple of them out of there, and people seem to like that. But anyway, and speaking of which, I'll just pop over here just for a second. I'm already logged in, and I'll bring up our course. We're not ready to do a homework problem just yet, but I'll go ahead and have it up and ready here. So And now, one thing I realize I may not do the exact same ones that are in the video, but probably just on recognition alone, there's a good chance I'll, you know. So it is possible that, you know, if you attend the class and watch the class, if you want to not watch the entire video if you don't need to, that's kind of a waste of your time. But the way I always do it is I do the homework right at the end of a section, so you could like fast forward the video, move it along, and then when I get to the homework, then maybe you'll see me do one on the video that I didn't do in class. So that's, yeah, but no, I wouldn't watch unless you just wanted, yeah, if you wanted the knowledge reinforced, you know, then you'd want to watch it again. But you could just fast forward the video and see what homework problems that were done on the video versus you attended class versus what I did in class. I don't worry about that. Maybe I'll try to make a list of them or something and try to do the same ones, but I usually just sort of do it off the cuff, or if somebody forms a request, you know, that always, you know, I'll consider that too. So there's 2-1 and 2-2. I think I'm going to cover this first little thing here on basic terms and definitions. So like you could have, of course, you know, you'll have access to this stuff during a test. So I guess, but still, you know, you want to make sure you kind of know what everything means here. We're just going to run through these, and like I said, I'll try not to spend too much time talking about them since they're going to be here and you can look at them and ask about them anytime. But I should give them some sort of, you know, justice here, kind of give them respect. Okay, statistics. Now I won't ask this definition on a test, but it's essentially the science of data, collecting, classifying, summarizing, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting numerical information. All kinds of fun stuff. We're going to start out with, you know, some calculations and graphing stuff at the beginning, and be doing some later on. We'll be doing stuff. Well, I'll kind of go through these definitions and I'll tell you how that's going to go. Two primary types of data. I've seen this kind of question sneak up on a test here, but quantitative data, measurements whose values are inherently numerical, and meaning and also data that you might want to do, you know, numerical calculations on. So just anything, if you're collecting data and the data is going to be a number. For example, maybe you're surveying a bunch of UHD students and you're asking them, how many courses are you taking this semester? You're going to get a numerical response, whatever that response may be, 3, 4, 2, 5, whatever. It's going to be a number. Qualitative data. Data whose measurement scale is inherently categorical, meaning that the data collected would be something that's in a word type form. Example of that, say if we were collecting data from that same group of UHD students that we were asking the number of classes they're taking, what if we were asking them what is their major? Yeah, so we'll just say if it's business students, only select that group. You know, you might say accounting or marketing or whatever the case may be. Yeah, so that would be a word type response, category type response. You know, what is your favorite color? Things like that. Now there are exceptions to this, and nothing that I would like do to you on a test or anything, but sometimes numbers aren't really numbers in this context where they're used numerically. For example, some numbers are actually used as labels. They're not really, I wouldn't call them quantitative. Like, for example, student IDs or something like that. I mean, that's more of a label. I wouldn't really consider that quantitative because also you're not going to be really, no one's going to try to calculate what's the average student ID. You know, what is that going to, whereas somebody might want to know what's the average number of courses a student is taking in a semester. that's information someone might want to know. But yeah, you're not going to like calculate the average social security number or the average zip code or something like that. So even though I'm not going to do that to you, like for testing purposes, there are times where numbers are used as labels, not really quantitative values. All right. Population. Population is a set of all objects or interest or measurements obtained from all objects. Okay. It's the individuals that you're defining as a population. So when we say population, that doesn't necessarily have to mean, the entire world population. You define the population as a larger group, and an inclusive group. So like, for example, I could define all UHD students as a population and collect data from that. I could even say, I could restrict it and say all UHD business students could be labeled as a population. That would be fine. So it's whatever the interest of study you're looking at there. That's what you define as a population. Now we have a term called parameter. It's a numerical value. I just mentioned mean, but there are others. Mean is average, which you would calculate from the population data. Now, a sample is a subset for the population that is selected for study. Now, going back, if I was the example I mentioned about UHD students, how many courses business students are taking or something like that. Now, obviously, maybe if you had access to the computer system, you could get all that information, but that would be a little bit, cumbersome to do, if you were collecting it by yourself. That would be kind of hard to do. So you might be just taking a sample, which is just part of that group that you're asking how many courses are you taking this semester. So it's just a part of the population. And that's going to be very important in statistics. I want to get down to the very bottom of this. I'll mention that, but yeah, collecting samples is key, because a lot of times the population is difficult to get the data for. And I'll give you an example of that here shortly. A random sample, that's more of a probability idea than as anything else. And that doesn't quite tie in exactly with all this, but such the way that each element of the population has an equal chance of being selected. Okay, I'm not too worried about that, but thinking I'm going to take that out of there, and I never do. Doesn't hurt anything, but now these last two are things we're going to see in this class: descriptive statistics, using numerical and graphical methods to look for patterns in a data set, summarize information in a data set, present information in a convenient form. For example, somebody, hands you a big sheet of paper with 1,000 numbers on it. You look at these numbers, it's not going to make much sense. But if it's taken and presented in some sort of graphical form or something like that, to where you can see it and look at patterns in it, then it becomes more interesting. There's the big blob of numbers, and also some calculations are part of this topic too. Mean, median, mode, standard deviation. We're going to do all that. That's part of descriptive statistics. This class consists of basically three things: descriptive statistics, some probability and probability distributions, and the last one's inferential statistics. That's kind of the core of this course. Now, inferential statistics are using sample data to make estimates, decisions, predictions, or other generalizations about a larger set of data. Of course, these terms don't mean anything now, but they will later. This includes confidence intervals and hypothesis testing, which we'll learn what that is later. So because the reason for that is because oftentimes it's I'll say impossible or enough to collect the data for an entire population. Depends on what that population was. So we use samples to make our best educated guess. For example, suppose you wanted to try to, you want to know what the average female height is for all females currently residing in the United States. I couldn't even imagine how you could possibly collect all that data. I mean, that's millions and millions and millions and millions. So you'd have to use samples to, and then do some stuff and then come up with your best approximation from there. A lot of educated guessing in statistics because of that reason, because you can't collect the entire population data. Now there's a whole branch of statistics that we're not focusing on in here called experimental design, which sort of talks about, then you have to kind of make sure you randomize and mix up the samples out within the population so you get a reasonable result. For example, if you were doing the women's heights, I don't think you could, it would be probably a bad idea. Let's just say you were going to, I don't want to work too hard to collect data, so I'm going to go on the internet, look up the some of the heights of the members of the women's basketball, the WNBA or whatever, and I'm going to get a bunch of their heights and we'll write them down. I'm going to average those, and I'm going to proclaim that's the average female height in the United States. That would not be a very good result, would it? Because you would have kind of drawn mainly from the taller end of the population. So it wouldn't have given you a good mixture, come up with a reasonable result. But that's a whole different, how you collect, it's a whole different branch of study, which we're not interested in here. You know, we're just interested in working with information that's already given to us. But yeah, you'd get kind of a skewed result. You know, if you tried to say the average female height was 5'9", you'd probably get laughed at, or whatever. I don't know. One of these days, I'm actually going to get that data from those rosters and see what the average is, just out of curiosity. Obviously, that would change from year to year, you know, as the rosters change. But I keep using that as an example, but I'm always curious. And of course, the same would apply if you were doing the male height, you were going to NBA rosters. You know, that would be a ridiculous answer. Okay, that basically takes care of that. So let's see. Well, let's see. Bring up my, yeah, so I could bring up my file in case I need to write on. I'm actually having PC troubles earlier. My tablet's not working right, so I can't really write very well anyway. So I might as well just work with the PDF file. Hope to have that issue resolved before class next week. Anyway, well, let's see. Okay, 7:40. I think I'll just keep going here if that's okay with you. Obviously, step away anytime you want to. I'm doing all right so far here. I don't feel like I need a break just yet, and maybe I'll do these and get this done a little bit quicker. So, or I might take a short break after this section. I don't know. These sections aren't very long, which is good. But then we'll be doing, you know, a couple of homework problems. Organizing categorical variables. So this is going to be the that we just learned, the qualitative data. Okay. All right, let's come down here, and this thing is called a summary table. This is pretty straightforward, pretty easy to read. You've probably seen millions of these before without, you know, identifying a fancy name to them or whatever. And what is this data talking about? Okay, let's see what we have here. Will I open the homework assignments at the same time? Some of them are already open. I'll need to be opening some more pretty soon. I think some of them are open, aren't they? Yeah, some of them are open. But I can't imagine it. If somebody already, or have you already finished all of these? Is that why you're waiting? Have you done all 7 of these already? That's pretty impressive. But yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, I just figured as long as you got something to go with, I'll keep opening them. And speaking of which, I was gonna say, yeah, that's somebody that's not playing around there, are they? Well, what my plan, what I usually do is I'll get these Yeah, I need to open, I guess I can open up those last couple of them. But anyway, I open them up, and then what I do is right around at the end of the exam period, I'll close the ones for that exam, and I'll make that an announcement so you don't panic. I'll let people know, okay, I'm closing these, but don't freak out. I'll open them back up again later in the semester. I always drop, and I'll make an announcement about that too. I always drop a certain number of homework assignments. Let me count how many there are, and I'll let you know some are going to be dropped. But anyway, the point is, I cut them off for the time being. I'll open them up later. But I cut them off for the time being because I want people to stay focused on what we're currently doing. So then I'll have, the next group of assignments open, but you will be able to go back at some point. I'd rather you be working on what we're studying now, and then you can go back later and wrap up stuff or whatever. But so you will not need to panic if if you're behind a little bit in the homework and I close them off. I mean, this is all it means that the farther behind you get, the more you'd have to do later, so, but don't feel like you have to have them all completed by that, whatever. But the deadline usually is right at the end of the exam period, because I want people to also, if they want to go in and, work on the homework up until the end of the exam period, I want people to be able to do that. So, but you'll see all that. I'll clarify all that in an announcement, but I could probably at least open up a couple more, I guess. So, 3.5 and 12.2, and as we get a little farther down, I might open up the second block here or whatever. But that's why there's no due date just yet. But that'll all be an announcement. So, but I just wanted to at least verbally tell you how that was going to work, at least anyway. So, all right. So let's go down here. Where was I? All right. Like I said, just kind of plow along with it a little bit. Don't get stuck too long on one problem. It's kind of like, and you can always ask for help if you're stuck on one. Just kind of keep moving along, and you always come back to it, whatever. And if there's one that's giving you troubles or whatever, and I think they always have the help me solve this or the ask my instructor kind of thing. Or yeah, I'd hate for you to like get frustrated and spend an hour at one problem, and when you could have been working, several others and skipping over it. So, all right, what does this say? How people watch movies or television by these percentages? Okay, so that's just showing you what we have, a summary table. Well, it should add up to 100%, obviously. We got a problem. All right. Here's one I just kind of copied out of the book. Now, here's where it's given to you in whole numbers. And suppose we wanted to convert these to actual percentages. Now, I'm going to do just a different example, so I don't have to type in all this many numbers, but I'm going to show you in Excel what I did to come up with this. So then you'll see the process and you'll know how this was done. Wait, all right, new worksheet here. So I'm just going to pick something like, I don't know. I suppose the data was, I don't know, favorite colors or something, whatever, not blue. Yeah, I'm not gonna put the entire 64 crayon box here or whatever, but I'll put black, I'll put yellow. Okay, I think we get the point here. Is that good enough? There we go. I should put purple down. All right, whatever. And I'm not even gonna worry about what the total adds up to. I'm not worried about, obviously if I was saying, okay, we had 200 people, then I would need to make sure my total added up to 200. Obviously if I made up an example, it needs to satisfy the criteria. Here, I'm just gonna pick some numbers. Yeah, so I just totally put down random numbers there. Now there's a sum command. I'm going to add these up though, now that I've done it. So if you click in the middle of the cell and you drag down right down there to the middle, and auto sum will add those up for you. But then actually the cell shows you the command equals sum B1 colon B7. So that was just a quick way of actually typing that in there. Now for the percentage column, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, bad things, I can't make that, I don't think I can, maybe there is a way, that command line bigger. Well, I guess you can see it in the cell here, what I'm typing. Okay, that helps. I'm going to go B1 divided by, now I'm going to put these dollar signs here, B8. And B1,
Your dollar sign needs to be before and after the B.
I see it. Yeah, I see it. Okay, don't do what I just did the first time. So I'll hit enter. Now what that's going to do is now I can drag the corner of this thing down here. When you drag the corner, you drag a formula down all the way. So what that's going to do is by putting those dollar signs there, it locks in that cell. So it means it'll move this down to take in each of the new cells, the colors, but it will divide by that same total amount. Of course, I could have also done this just by saying divide by 147. Yeah, that would have worked. But I just wanted to show you that dollar thing if you didn't know it already or whatever. But so you see, so I'll go down here and look at that bottom one. So you see it has B7, but then divided by the same B8 cell or whatever. So it locks in the denominator essentially. But yeah, you could have just put 147. That would have been fine. Now what I'm going to do here is, I guess I'll just highlight the whole thing. And this is just optional, however you want to. I'm going to format these cells to make it show percentage. I don't know, 1 decimal place, 2 decimal place, who cares? Well, there's only one time we need to care. Like on an exam, you don't need to care because whatever I'm rounding to, it's multiple choice. It'll be easy to identify the answer. So that won't be an issue. However, where only time we have to care is when you're doing this My Math Lab homework. Because it will say, and sometimes I mess up too by not paying attention, round to 2 decimal places, round to 1 decimal place, round to 3 decimal places. It's real picky in what it wants, so, but that won't hurt you on a test. Because like I said, and if I gave you these numbers and the question was what percent was red, whether I had 18.37 and you saw, and the answers were all 1 decimals and you saw 18.4, I don't think you'd have any trouble figuring out that 18.4 would be the correct answer. But if my math lab wants 2 decimal places, we're putting 18.37 in there. I just did 2 for I can't tell you why, just because I felt like it. I don't know. So anyway, that's exactly what I did. For here. So I just won't redo that same problem. So that's exactly what I did for that problem right there. Boy, and these problems, and you're going to see these when we do these in the homework. Some of these problems, like the way they word them, I don't put these kind of questions necessarily on a test because sometimes it's kind of tricky on how to. And one of them, it was one of them. One of them I did the first week last semester. I remember. I think we probably will see it. Is the way, it's kind of generic when it says what conclusions, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of conclusions that you can reach from this. I mean, you can say that a large majority of it is between coal, natural gas, and nuclear. You can definitely say that coal is the largest. So it's that question's really vague, So even so this, I don't want to do that to you on a test. But the good news is, my math lab homework problem, you can try it again or whatever, and if you see what's going on. But I don't like questions that are a little too vague. But I think we can see that those 3 clearly dominate, don't they? So it's a little, a little vague there. So I don't like to do that to people too much. I'm not trying to make this, I want you to, think some, think a little bit, but not get trick, on wording or whatever. Oh yeah, we'll be seeing these again later, and we'll do some probabilities. So these will come back again. They're called contingency tables. Cross tabulates, tallies jointly data of 2 or more categorical variables. Patterns that exist between the variables. And once again, they can be shown as we'll talk more about here later. We'll define frequency. That'll come up pretty soon. But frequency means the number of. So you'll learn that soon enough pretty quickly. So like this chart in the bottom left with the genders doesn't overlap. Those are frequencies, the whole numbers. And of course, I made them into percentages. It was not critical, but I just did. So and so this says 1,520 American adults asked, "You feel overloaded with too much information?" And let's talk about how we read these things. So there's your grand total, 1,520. And you have row and column totals. So you see we have total males is 785, total females 735, total number of people said yes 304, total said no it's 1,216. Now the numbers on the inside are where row meets column, where it's true to both of them. So the ones that said yes and were male, one's 134. The ones that said no that were male was 651. Yes and female was 170. No and female 565. And then everything adds up, row and column, to that bottom grand total. Now, what I did over here, now I can do a different example or this if you need me to do it, it's up to you. Similar to the last problem, except this one I didn't use I divided everything by 1,520 because there's no need in doing like the other one. Everything was in one column. I added them up, but 1,520 is our denominator. So I divided everything by 1,520 and converted it to percentages. Do you need me to show that? It's just divide everything by 1,520, or I may not. I could type in new numbers, or I could do whatever. But well, you think you're okay, or if you don't say anything, I'll assume that means you're okay. And there, it's just same thing, it's just broken down in percentages. All right. Okay, what conclusions? Once again, it kind of needs to be more specific on these questions. I don't know. I'm not worried. I mean, well, more people, high percentage people in general don't feel like they're overloaded. I guess the females are slightly more overloaded than males. I don't know. We'll see how this is addressed in the homework, though. Well, that was the end of that section. See, how about that? 2 pages. The next one might have like 4 pages. Let's go to the homework here and see. Well, I just like that. I usually just try to pick kind of the more interesting ones. Like in some of these sections, we go further. There's more problems. Like I don't mind helping somebody wanted to ask, but I'll kind of skip the most basic ones just so I can get to a little more challenging type problem. I think that's more beneficial anyway. If I do the simplest ones, that doesn't help as much. So I'm gonna preview. Yeah, like here's one that I normally wouldn't do, but I mean I would do it if I was specifically trying to help someone, then I would do it. But that doesn't look too difficult, does it? You just take each one. Well, I tell you what, I won't show you what else. I'll show you this in a minute. Is you can this little button up here is you can dump stuff into Excel. So that comes in handy without having, you don't have to type the data. I sat there and said I wasn't going to do that one. Now I am doing that. Well, I mean, sort of. Maybe I won't finish it. Yeah, and then you can decide whether you want to just add these up or do that. Honestly, it's 50. So I just added up I'm not saying you should add it up in your head, but equals B1. Yeah, I usually don't. Oh, B2. And I'll copy this down. And I can format these as percentages, but it's kind of obvious because it's divided, it's divisions perfect there. So 18%, 52%, and 30%. I mean decimals at once, but we don't need it's perfect there. Yeah. 18, 52, and 30. Simplify your answer. So I guess it doesn't even want any decimals, which is ideal because it doesn't need it. 18, 52, and 30. First time I've ever done this problem. It's easy to skip it. Ta-da! How about that? All right. Yeah, one thing about this class. Here we go. There are these kind of questions. All right. Well, conclusions. Well, sometimes I misread these too, so I got to be careful. Well, B occurs more than half the time, so I like that answer. A is wrong because it's saying C is least likely to occur. I'm not going to hit check answer just yet. I'm going to put C as my leader so far. But I know A is wrong. A is wrong. B is wrong. I should at least look at D and E because I've made that mistake before too. D is wrong because that's, no, D is not. Let's see. D is most, least likely. All three. No, okay. D is wrong because a quarter of a time would mean 25% or higher for all of them. That's wrong. And okay, C is clearly the only one that's correct. Every one of them has at least one little piece of information that's wrong. Okay, that wasn't too bad. One thing about this course is, like I said, I didn't do this one last time. It's just got more numbers and more categories, and we could come back to it maybe. But I will admit that this course it doesn't get super hard, but don't be fooled by the first couple 3 weeks or so. It's pretty easy at the beginning, but it offer its own challenges. It doesn't get like mathematically hard per se, but the concepts get a little more challenging as we go. So I wouldn't want somebody get too cocky, like you ace the first test and figure you don't have to study anymore. I wouldn't go with that attitude. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, I think I did this one. That was similar to the one that was in our book. Two decimal things, percentages. Oh yeah, this one has several parts to it. It's not hard, but because you got to do one by automaker and then one by category. Just kind of showing because it'll be new numbers when I bring it up. So you would have to download the two separate datas and just do them where you divide by the total. Do you think I need to do that one, or just go to the next one, take a look at that one? I can always come back. But I remember doing this one. Okay, so this will be similar to what we saw in that example in my notes. I've never played around. I had one student one time that did, and it was, maybe one of these days I'll look at it. I've never used that stat crunch, so I would expert source to come to on that, but I've never you could try using that if you think if you wanted to, but I would have to look at it carefully. I'm not familiar with it. Okay, the percentages. Oh, what am I doing here? I don't think I need to. Oh, I didn't need to do anything there. The percentages were I wasn't. Those weren't whole numbers. Never mind. That was a wasted effort because there are already percentages. So what do you, oh, this is the one I messed up last time. Because I didn't, yeah, it tricked me because I didn't read this part carefully. Select all that apply. So I found the first correct answer and hit check answer, and I was wrong because I didn't have enough correct answers. All right, so on that month, natural gas was the highest. That is correct. That's probably what I did, and I stopped right there. Together, natural gas and coal make up less than half responses. That is not true because I can already see that 40 plus 24 is more than 50. Let's look at C. Other, nuclear, hydro, and wind and solar make up less than half. That is true because coal and natural gas make up more than half. I mean, you can, if you don't want to, if you want to be sure, you can add them up. I wouldn't blame you. I'm not going to, but I know the other two are more than half, so by default that has to be less than half. Coal was the highest. That's wrong. So it should be these two together. See, we learned something already right there. Don't make the mistake that I made. Oh yeah, I think I did this one. So I won't do that one that was 2 problems ago. I'll do this one, then we'll be done this section. Now we got to be careful here. Yeah, this one's worded kind of weird. I don't like, sometimes these homework problems annoy me the way they kind of word them. I'd make it less wordy and less complicated wording, anything on a test, but so what does it mean? Might be able to do this without bringing up any calculations. So there's 1,126 adults, which is what exactly 563 and 563 adds up to. Now they're giving us those percentages, but that's actually what, 51 divided by, so they gave us those percentages, which they didn't really need to. So yeah, there's your 9% right there. All right, let's see. What percent of all of the people? Okay, so let's see what we're going to do. We're going to have to take the, we have 51 males that said window tinting, 79 females. So it looks like we should be able to add those two together and then divide by the total. So that would then give us a number for all people total. So 51 plus 79 is going to be 130. So I'll just come over here, 130. I'm not sure if my laptop here, this laptop has a calculator on it or not. Well, I mean, a good calculator, like my other ones that I'm having trouble with right now. So let's see how many decimals it wants. 11 point. Nearest 10th, so 11.5. Double that. Yeah. But I got to read the rest of that. I like A because a higher percentage of women than men prefer window tinting. Well, I'm going to go with that one, not even reading the rest of them. Let's see how that works out for me. Oh, or 11. See how we did. Fantastic. Isn't that exciting? I can feel the excitement in the air. All right, that takes care of that. Well, let's see, I don't need that anymore. Well, I mean, we're still going to finish early, but what do you think about a 5-minute break here?
Sounds good.
Yeah, in class, I'd give a little bit longer than that in face-to-face class, but you know, I figure here, you know, if you're in a location where you probably get to things closer than you can on campus, so like restrooms, namely, or whatever. So, all right, so it's just 5 minutes and come back. So yeah, if you're not, it's okay. I'll start talking here in a few minutes, and that's where I'll be starting right there with that section. So we'll do this section, and we will look at that homework, and then we're done. Week 1 will be over. So I'll be right All right, I'll take a look at the chat here. See if anything I needed to answer. Oh, okay, good. Kind of interacting with each other. I like that. I like that. Everyone understanding the material so far? Well, I'm doing pretty good understanding it. Oh, that wasn't probably for me, was it? Excellent. All right, let's let the games begin here. Organizing numerical variables. We might say this is a section then on organizing quantitative data. The last one, qualitative. Now we're dealing with data that's numerical. All right, ordered array. This is nothing more than obviously anything that has as many numbers would need to be an Excel file or something. I would not make you take a list this long and have you do this. But we'll talk about sorting here a little bit in Excel, and super easy and super fun. If it's in Excel, bing, bam, boom, sort, done. Yeah, this is kind of a pain here. All this is all they've done here is showing you that here's just some two sets of data, and then ordered array means they've taken that same data and just reordered it from lowest to highest. That's all it's been done. Which I think you could see would be kind of not fun manually. Kind of a pain. But like I said, super fun in Excel. All right, let's see. That's all that is. So just to give us the idea of what that means. Now let's talk about a frequency distribution. And we had this word frequency come up in the last section. I told you we'd see it again. And well, we'll talk about using ordered arrays here in a little bit. We'll get to that. Makes it easy to, one thing that makes it easy to do is classify how many fall in a certain interval. They're ordered, it's easy to count them up. I think we shall see that here in a minute. I'll give you one quick example. If we're going to talk about group distributions here in a minute, but I was looking at that first one, and I wanted to know how many were between 40 to 49. I think it's a whole lot easier to collect it from this ordered thing than it is to go through. You could go through and count them, like, out of there, but which we're going to do. Our data set's only going to have 30 instead of this many of them, but yeah, makes things easier to count as far as grouping them. All about organization. It's much better to organize it. So frequencies are the numbers that fall within each in particular group. We're going to do class, items, individual values, and we're going to talk about intervals here shortly. Now I just made these numbers up, and they're not sorted. And I say but like I said, for 25 of them, the sorting is important when there's a lot more numbers. Even with that 50, sorting is important. This one's probably not as bad, but anyway. So this is just, I made up some numbers for how many courses that 25 random randomly selected UHT students. So when setting up this left column for the number of courses, it needs to be the range of the values that are contained in here. So you see the smallest one is 1. The largest is 5. And you want to include every one of them, meaning there's nothing in there. So so it goes, that's how I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, meaning that's the range of values that are in here. Now then the frequency would then be how many of those values. So this is where we count. May not do it for every one of them. I didn't do it. I don't normally have to do about 3 of them. People are usually satisfied. How many ones do you see in there? I see 1 here and I see 1 there. So that frequency 2 means there are 2 ones in your data. Count the 2s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Count the 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. I might as well finish. The 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9. And the 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I added them up to check and I got 25, and there are 25 values. So it doesn't guarantee it's right, but it's certainly a chance that it's right. But you know, if you add them up and you got like 24 or 26, you know that you were off somewhere. And the thing about this is, as you can see, that was not difficult to do, but it still can lend itself to mistakes, not because of non-understanding or anything like that. Is that your eyes deceive you for a second there? I've made mistakes on these. I just miscounted because my eyes didn't see something. So yeah, that's so it's easy, but it can be, you know, mistakes can be had if you're not careful. Okay. Now, relative frequency, that's essentially then converting these frequencies to percentages or fractions. Fraction or percentage, you know, obviously we're not that concerned on a test. It could be either one, but obviously, you know, my math lab problem, it would clarify what it wants. And we'll see that on the next page. Cumulative frequency and cumulative relative frequency are kind of the same thing. I'll explain that here. Well, one's based on the regular frequencies, one's based on the relative frequencies. And it's easier for me to explain it in action here. The relative frequency, I think, is going to be simple enough to understand. It's not difficult. And I wrote it. I didn't. The only thing I didn't show here was percentage. But I wrote the fraction, I wrote the decimal, and we could easily make the decimal into a percentage if we needed to. Even though it's not shown in percentage, obviously the percentage is certainly a common way that it could be shown. So here's the courses and the frequencies. That's what's called, that's the basic called frequency distribution. And then it's still a frequency distribution, just with more columns added to it. You know, but to be a basic frequency distribution, all it needs is 2 columns. This is easy enough. These are all just divided by 25, the grand total. And we've done this already, but like I said, I just left it looking a little bit different than I did before. As decimals or fractions, it would add up to 1. As percentage, of course, it would add up to 100. Now the cumulative, I'll do the cumulative frequency first before we do the relative frequency. I think once you understand how the cumulative frequency works, I think it won't be hard to understand the cumulative relative. Cumulative frequency, cumulative means less than or equal to whatever interval that you're in value, whatever row you're on in your distribution. It's wherever you are, it's how many in that row plus the rows preceding it. That's why this for a cumulative frequency, these need to be done in increasing order. I guess if you weren't doing cumulative frequencies, it could have been done, but it's generally best if it's done from lowest to highest. But I guess it could be done the other way if you weren't doing the cumulative. So when we're in the first row, okay, Yeah, that's all. I'll do that. We're in the first row 2. The cumulative frequency will be the same as just the regular frequency because there's nothing before that row. So 2, there's nothing before it. So less than or equal to would just be 2. Now the next one, the next row has a frequency of 5. You would take 5 and you would add the 2 that was before it, less than or equal to 2, then would be 7. The next one, 3. You have a frequency of 5 in that row. The row, you add every row before it. So 5 plus 1 before it, plus 1 before that, 5 plus 5 plus 2, that translates to 12. The next one has 9. So it's 9 plus 5 plus 5 plus 2. That's 21. And the next one's basically adding all 5 rows up. So you'll finish right there at 25. Now, another way this could be done, probably a little bit quicker. I just wanted to explain it that way so you can see what was happening. But if you start with the first one, 2, all you have to do is add the next row. So 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus the next 5 is 12. 12 plus 9 is 21. 21 plus 4 is 25. So essentially, it's a running total of less than or equal to. Wasn't that exciting? So now the cumulative relative will work kind of the same way. So you start with 0.08, then you add 0.2, that'll give you 0.28. Plus 0.2 is 0.48. Plus 0.36 is 0.84. Plus 0.16, and you'll finish right there at 1. Or if it was percentages, it would be 100%. All right, let's talk about something called a histogram. It's a special type of bar graph. We're going to have other bar. This is for, it's a bar graph for quantitative data. We're going to look at bar graphs also for qualitative data, but it's called a histogram whenever it's for quantitative data. And those will pretty much, I mean, I'd be surprised to see one go sideways. But for qualitative data, you're going to see, I don't know if that's next week or the week after, probably next week. Anyway, yeah, you'll see bar graphs that can go sideways or up and down, but these specifically go up and down. Most books do it where the bars connect to each other, but this one actually talks about it spacing them apart. So I went ahead and went with both ways. Usually I would have shown the one on the right. But anyway, the y-axis could be frequency or relative frequency, and then the x-axis are all your items in the not intervals or the individual values that you're collecting the frequencies on. So it's real easy to read the construction, how this is constructed. You center your value in the middle of your bar. So whether it's spaced or connected together, it's the same idea. And your bar height will be whatever the frequency is for that value. So in other words, the frequency of 1, there were 2 of them. So we had a bar height of 2. For 2, it's 5. So yeah, my drawing, it's not quite perfect here. I just need to shrink that down a little bit or something, but okay, it's right there between 4 and 6, so it kind of has to be 5. The next one for 3 is 5. And 4 is 9, which you can see the bar height is right between 9 and 10. And 5 has a frequency of 4. So it has a bar height of 4. Now, this is kind of a small thing, and you can't really tell much from this. But if you have, this is more useful in larger data sets, and where you can maybe see patterns developing or whatever. You know, maybe you see higher stacks of values on the low end, or maybe they're consistently even, or more data on the larger end of the numbers. And it's a way to, like, once again, it's a better way than, like I was saying earlier, if somebody just hands you like 5,000 numbers and you're trying to make random numbers, not organized or anything, and you're trying to make sense of them, this would give you a visual presentation just to kind of see if you thought that there were, patterns in the data. So it's all about making numbers look pretty and visible to the average user. Now let's come down here. We're going to do the group data. Okay. Now, like I said, we're not going to worry about taking these and sorting them because there's only 30 values, but obviously for larger data sets, they'd need to be sorted. Well, it would be help, like homework problems. I'm sure they'll come in Excel files or whatever, where you can, I'll talk about how to sort them. But that's okay for this. We can count them here, no problem. It's not that many. Now, group data means your data are not single values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to be ranges of values. Like, maybe an example where you could have run across this before is maybe like an instructor posted grades like, okay, between 90 and 100, and then 80 and 89, and 70 and 79, and they would show the frequency, like how many fit in that particular group. And that's an example of what this is, frequency distribution for group data. Because it's for, when you have a lot of numbers, it would not be as good to list them out individually. It's better to put them within groups, instead of like for those test scores, it would look weird to have a frequency distribution where you had all the way from 100 down to whatever. Let's say if 50 was a minimum test score and do it that way, that would look kind of weird. It's better to put it in intervals. Now this little chart here, and I got a little calculator output here to sort of show you this is, of course, if you were doing your own statistical work, you could decide how many classes or intervals you wanted yourself, but this is giving you a guideline to what's the best number of intervals you should have. Like for example, this data set with 30 numbers, we don't want 15 intervals, that would just be too much, but we don't necessarily want 2 intervals either, because that would be kind of too few. So this is, now of course, a problem may tell you how many intervals there are. And if it tells you, just go with that and accept it. But if it asks for recommended intervals, we're going to go with this rule right here. Now, this rule says you're looking for the value k, where 2 raised to the k power, the smallest value it can be, to where it's greater than or equal to n. N is the number of data values. Oh, in our problem, we have n would be 30. But we're trying to find the smallest number k, because there'd be a lot of numbers k that would be greater than 30 to make that greater than 30, but you want the smallest one possible. So let's say I was using a calculator to check this out, and I tried 4. 2 raised to the 4th power, that'd be easy enough to put in a calculator. That's going to be 16. 16 is not greater than or equal to 30. So that's no good. And then what if I tried 5? 2 to the 5th power would be 32. That's greater than or equal to 30. 5 would be the best choice for the data, having 5 intervals, 5 classes. When I say intervals and I say classes, that's the same thing. So you'd want the smallest one where it exceeded your data points. And here I made a little chart for you. Thought I'd have where's my Zoom? Oh, here we go. Probably. Where I kind of did 2 to the k for like several numbers here or whatever, up to like 11 or whatever. So those are all, so the values in blue represent 2 to the, so you see for the 4th one, see the 4x is 4, so 2 to the 4 is 16, and x is 5, be 32. So I'm going to let you like participate here if you want to. You can either shout it out, or if you want to pop it in the chat real quick. We're not going to spend too long with this, and it's not like doesn't matter who gets it first or whatever. That doesn't make any difference. But I'm going to give you a value for n, how many data points there are, and what do you think would be the appropriate value k to use based on this little calculator part. So you see for 30, 5 was the right answer because 2 to the 5th was 32. So I'm going to make up a number that represents this blue column, and then you tell me what the appropriate left-hand number would be or whatever. So I'm going to say, suppose there were 200 data values, exactly 200. What would you think the appropriate number of classes would be? Oh, we got chat people popping up. Okay, that's it. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. 8 is the correct answer. Yeah, 8 before anybody even got a chance to mic themselves back in. Okay, that's it. So yeah, 8 is correct because because 200 fits. In other words, 256 is the smallest number in this list that's bigger than 200. So you'd use that 8 right there or whatever. So that is correct. Very good. Okay, that's all we need to spend on that. So it's a matter of just seeing where the numbers fit between, where it would fit between, and then you go to the number of the X column that's larger than that. So I don't think I need to do that again since we clobbered that pretty quickly. I never do it more than once anyway. So class width. Okay, this is important. Class boundaries. Minimum, maximum value for each class. Class width is the difference between the class boundaries for each interval, and then the class width. Now, the way we're going to do this is, and I'm going to explain to you when this is done that, this can kind of be modified as to how people want to do this. We're not in this class, though, anything that might appear in a test question, you want to do it exactly the way that I'm about to show you. But I'm going to explain for when the data is larger numbers, how this might be modified a little bit in real life or whatever data. But as far as you're concerned, you follow these guidelines and you'll be fine. But I always like to just let you know about other options there. But you do this. Now, what you want to do to calculate your class width, it's going to be a whole number. You take your maximum data value, you subtract your minimum value, and you divide by the number of classes. The number of classes is what we found using that 2 to the K rule. So for our data, the number of classes was 5. We already figured that out up here. Let's go through the list. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but because I've had this problem. But yeah, you can go through the whole. But you should go through the whole list. I intentionally put the maximum number up here, and I put the minimum. I've got 2 of them. There's 2 sevens, but the minimum number, the maximum number is 53. You can go through that list and check, and then the minimum number is 7. And that's your max and your min. And we're using 5 classes. Now you must put that. So I'll put that in big bold red letters. So it must be important. You must round up the next integer or useful number. Now, in your world, just focus on next integer. Useful number is what I'm going to explain to you after this is done. What I was talking about, how this somebody could modify this idea or whatever. But we're going to go with our rule is next integer. Anything you answer on the test, next integer. Have to round up. I'm going to explain why. You just have to hang in there for a minute. I'm going to tell you why. Not because I just felt like doing that to you. There's a legitimate reason. And so you take 53 minus 7, all divided by 5, you get 9.2. I think somebody's mic's on out there by mistake. All right. We round up to 10. Like I said,
Someone's mic isn't muted. Chris, turn your mic off.
Do we know? Yeah, somebody's got a mic on there. Though.
Chris, turn your mic off.
Mic off, please.
Well, we know who isn't paying attention.
Well,
I think Professor him.
what?
You can mute everybody. Just mute everybody.
Yeah, can I do that?
Yes.
But I want you to be able to get back in
Oh,
if
well,
you
you
want
want
to say
us to be able
something.
to answer. Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. Then maybe we can.
You can raise your hand, like
You can
you
mute
can
them
unmute
and
it.
then you can, and then people can unmute themselves.
All right, I clicked on mute and nothing happened. Because I always started off I always started off as everybody's muted when they enter, you know. So it's not. Somebody must have put it back on. Still trying to. Okay, I got to learn how to do this. I guess sometime. Not today, but well, why didn't that work? What I just did. It looks like I can only mute.
I don't know. Can you just go mute Chris?
Let me see. Let me come over here and look at this column. I don't see anything there that can do it.
I was on the Zoom.
Why? Yeah, I click mute though, it's going to mute myself though, isn't it? I mean, I don't want to mute me.
I think you have to go into the settings or something. Like you have to change the settings, and it should show you like mute everybody or something like that.
Sometimes I can see things better. I'll stop share for a minute, then I'll bring back share. I can see things better whenever I stop. I might be able to figure it out from here, maybe. Or if I see that mic, can I turn it off? Pull through here and look and see if I see a. But I don't want to turn off everybody's. I mean, I don't want to turn off the wrong person.
Maybe if you go into the participants,
You can
and
turn
then
off everybody's mute, everybody's microphone, and
Participants.
then when they want to speak, they can
go
turn it
into
off.
participants and maybe click on Chris mic to mute it.
Click on what?
Click on Chris's mic to mute
Okay.
it.
Got it. Good job. I think that might do it.
Okay, we good.
Thank you for your help. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now I can go back to share. Yeah, I usually have to unshare the screen to be able to see all that stuff. So yeah. Okay. All right. Good job, team. Thanks for your help. All right, let's see. Oh, where was I? Okay. Okay, we'll talk about the why that's important. So here's how this is. Sometimes people, I could have just probably put the less than symbol would have been okay, I guess. I didn't have to have all those words, I guess. But what this, so the class width of 10, and you want to start with your minimum value. The minimum value in the data set was 7, and the class width was 10, so I want to put 17 here. So what this means is saying 7 to less than 17 is if our data had decimal numbers in it, like say, let's suppose we don't for this one, but if it did, and you had like 16.95, that would fit in this first interval right here. But as soon as you hit, the next one starts at 17, 17 basically means, okay, that represents 17.0000 and higher. So that there is a difference in. So this, but I know our data won't be true, but in general, that's why, because one thing you can't have, and I'll talk about here in a little bit, is you can't have a number that fits in more than one row. That's no good. And it won't this way. 16.9999 will be good here. 17 will fit in the next one. All right. And we go 17 to less than 27, 27 to less than 37, so forth, so on. Now let me explain why we round it up. Because if we did not round up 10 and we'd round it down to 9, our largest value, 53, would not have fit in our interval. This last number would have been 52 instead of 57. So you have to, that's why it has to be done, is so that largest number will have a place to go. And that's the reason. So it wasn't just made up just to torture you or anything. It was a legitimate reason. So now, so we're looking at, but in our data, because it's integer values, that 7 to less than 17 really does mean 7 to 16, because we don't have any data that are 16 point blah, 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 blah. So now here's where we count. And like I said, this is not hard to do, but it's easy to screw up. 7, let me go back up here. 7 to 16. Oh, geez. Maybe that's better than the other pointer. 1. So I'm just using that little eraser above it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Should have a frequency of 8 for that interval. 8. I'll do the next one. After I do the next one, I'm gonna let you, either you can just chat it in there or somebody if you get the ideas. I don't usually by the time I get down around the 4th one, everybody's had enough. Because I want you to be able to see the idea if you think you see what's going on and you're okay. But I always do at least, I'll do 3 of them, sure. Then I'll let you decide. So the next one's going to be 17 to 26, because we don't go up close to 27. So 17 to 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Uh-oh, I screwed up already. 8, 9, they're supposed to be 10. See, yes, I'm telling you. I'm gonna start over again. 1.
The 25 on the bottom row.
Okay, I missed something. There's no, yeah, I'm sure, there you go. I'm sure I missed something. Let me just, I'll do it. I'll get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. 9 and 10. There's 10. So there's your frequency. 10. 27 to 36. Yep, I did miss 25. You're right. See what I mean? Like I said, 27 to 36. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hope 4 is right. 4. Okay. Do I need to finish, or are you okay with what happened there? What's happening there? Or we're just counting how many are falling into each group?
Got it.
Okay, everybody, anybody else? I'll do it. If anybody needs to say it, I'll do it. No,
We're good.
We're not going to upset me. I don't want anybody to feel bad, if they say, yeah, well, I'd like to see that, or
Sorry, can I see one more time how you got 7 to less than 17? I got everything after that, but I kind of forgot.
Counting 17 to 26. Maybe you did like me, and like I made a mistake the first time. It's everything 17 to 26. I'll try to do it faster this time. 1.
No, I mean, how, where did you get 7? Like the first column, the class intervals.
You start with the lowest number in your data, and then the class width was 10. So if you start with 7, that means you add 10 to it to get 17.
Oh, okay, I see.
Then it's less than 17. Then you start the next one with 17 and add 10, and then keep following that pattern.
Okay, I was just thank you.
Start, okay, I get you. It wasn't the counting, it was how we set them up. So, but anyway, so a frequency, relative frequency divided by, I can go over the cumulative again, if you need me to do that. I'll do the cumulative frequency real quick. 8 and 8 plus 10 is 18. 18 plus 4 would be 22. Plus 5 is 27. Plus 3 is 30. So forth, so on. So this is the way we're going to do this in this class. But before I show you the histogram, I'll kind of explain what I was talking about, where that part that said, or other useful number, okay, that's not something you have to be concerned about, but it's possible just to kind of give, certain distributions with larger numbers, they might want to kind of give it a sort of a cleaner look or something like, and also they may change the starting point. So let's say 7 was the smallest number, but there were like a lot of large numbers in this thing. In other words, and maybe the class width was like, calculated class width was 87. Somebody might decide that, number one, they might want to use 100 as their class width just because it's a nice clean number. And then instead of starting at 7, they might want to start at 1. So they might would go from 1 to less than 100, and then 100 to less than or 0 to 100, and then 100 to less than 200, 200 to less than 300, more just for like a cleaner look than anything else. So that's when it might be possible where, it didn't follow these rules exactly, but we're going to follow these rules. Like I said, that's generally with large data sets. And like I said, you might, and somebody wanted to make it look, yeah, and somebody doing like a class distribution of grades would still, they wouldn't even worry about calculating the intervals. They would still do it like a normal 90 and above and 80 to 89. You wouldn't even calculate it there because it wouldn't make much sense, I don't think, to do, 93 to 100, then 86 to 92 and so forth. Yeah, it wouldn't make much sense to do it that way, but this is what we're going to do. I'm connecting the bars here. Now, this little zigzag thing doesn't really have an important meaning other than it's like a sort of a fast forward kind of thing. In other words, suppose that your data was starting with large numbers like 100. You don't want to put this thing flush up against the y-axis, but you wouldn't want it to be like 3 miles to the right of it either. In other words, so if you space it out, you don't want the bars to start like 3 pages over because it started as 100. So sometimes people will do that little thing in there and say, okay, fast forward, and we're starting at 100, but then they would space these things out equally. In other words, so even if obviously that would not represent a space from 0 to 100, but hypothetically it would, but then you would try to space these out evenly. One of the things we're going to see, we're talking about misleading statistics and stuff like that, how people can try to mislead you with statistics, is they'll make bars like fatter than normal, wider than normal across to make it look like it has more impact just because the size of the bar is wider, and little tricks like that, so but to do it properly, they need to be equal spaced bar widths. So here, even though we let these bars touch at 17, from the way we develop this, we still understand that it's really 7 to 16. We're not 17 is really included in the next one. So that's just sort of our understanding. But I guess somebody could separate the bars if they wanted to. But if you did have data, this would be the right way to do it, though, if you had data that actually did have like 16.95 or something crazy like that, then you would kind of want to connect them, just to make it look better. But I guess with whole numbers, you could space out, between 16 and 17 if you wanted to, but it's not that big of a deal. You're not really going to be drawing these other than just looking at the right, identifying the right answer. So your artistic skills in these do not matter. But so once again, the bar heights are the frequencies. So our frequencies are 8, 10, 4, 5, 3. And then what we got here, so you see 8, there's that bar, there's 10, 4, between 4 and 6 is 5, and then between 2 and 4 is 3. So there are our heights. And this just some basic information here. I won't ask these rules on a test, but it's just kind of like, yeah, you want your equal size classes, equal width. That's what we're doing pretty much. Mutually exclusive classes, meaning we cannot overlap. But the way we do it is not overlapping. Like when I did 7 to less than 17 and then 17 to less than 27, the value 17 would only go in the second row, not the first row. So that's not technically, just because the same number was there, that's not overlapping. But look at this one. Look how bad this one is. 0 to less than 3, which would be fine if the next one started at 3, but starts at 2.5. So that's terrible. So like here's one that says 2.7. It only needs to belong in one place, but technically that one would fit in 2 places, wouldn't it? So that's just no good. Violating rules and statistics is a really bad idea. I agree with that. Include all the data values, empty classes. Okay. All right. Nothing that you have to really worry about. You just follow that pattern that we did there. You know, you're going to meet all this criteria automatically. In other words, you're not going to have to like, ooh, I got to check all that or whatever. No, you'll be good. All right, well, let's go take a look at the homework, and then we'll do a couple of those, and then we'll call it a day. I'll just think of which ones I did here. I'm going to make sure I do the best ones, obviously. I don't know if I did that one or not. It wouldn't be that bad, but oh yeah, there's one in here I definitely want to do. This one I want to do. Actually, I may not do that first one. And that one I want to do because it was super tricky. Once I explain it to you. I didn't do this one. I don't normally do this one, but like I said, I can obviously help somebody. But this one might not look, you see this distribution. Now look at the way it's set up. That's okay if your data is integers. You know, see the way I did it works for both integers and decimals. Even though our data was not decimal, it worked for both. This method is strictly that the data has to be integers. So that's all I want to mention. So in other words, there's no way you're going to have this data if it's listed like this, that you're going to have a 9.5 in it or anything like that. So even without doing the problem, I'm going to bring this up for a second and open an Excel. I might kind of just start it for a second. See, wait, I shouldn't have done that. I forgot to open the file. Open in Excel. Comes up here. Let's open it now and get rid of it. Well, I certainly think this would be a prime example. I think I would rather sort this and go through. See, at least, you know, like I said, my examples and the notes are smaller sets of numbers, but this is borderline rude here, isn't it? How many we got in here? Yeah, 50, not the worst thing, but still rude enough. This will be our first sort. So yeah, this makes it super duper. I'm gonna go up here, highlight the whole column. I'm gonna go to data and sort, and that A to Z pointing down will go smallest to largest. So the first one was 5 to 9. Highlight those cells, and there's I can't see it because of, oh, where's my, it's supposed to show the count feature down there at the bottom, but maybe I think this Zoom,
it's 7.
The Zoom stuff has it blocked. Can I move that out of the way somewhere? Okay, dang, this does not help. Well, anyway, that bottom row in small print, it's going to say count. It's going to show you how many cells you selected there. So that's your frequency. So that looks like 7 of them. So it should say count equals 7 down there. Grab this thing and move it out of the way. I really just... Oh, it moved up top. Hey, okay, it's a miracle. There it is. I knew it was hiding there. count 7. So that just says so that'll make it easy to go through and then fill that out. You just highlight, look and see how many of them you have, and you just fill them right in there. Boom, 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 boom. Versus counting them manually. I like that. Let me go back to this one for sure. And this one for sure. Because this one's kind of weird on the cumulative. I don't really care for too much here, but we're going to do the same thing here. And this is integer data. Now, but see, they've listed this out kind of the way I listed it out in the notes. You know, the less than 100, even though there aren't decimal values here. But it works for both. If it had decimals, that would also work. But so in reality, that means 80 to 99. All right, so where's let's get that little button there that brings down my data. I don't feel like counting all that. You've already seen me screw it up once there for that one block of numbers. Enable editing. Zoom in on this just a little bit, if you don't mind. Highlight up here. Data, sort. Boom. First one, I believe it was 80 to 99. Let me double check. Okay, 80 to less than 100, same thing. Here we go. Okay, I don't know. I think I need to see the count button to realize there's only 3 of those, right? 3 there. Fun with frequency distributions. 100 to 120, but that means 119, really. So we got to be careful. Do not include 120. Okay, I can look at my count, but I can also pretty easily see that that's 4. I mean, you can use a count thing if you need it, but 4 there. 120 to less than 140, so that's 120 to 39. Yeah, if I remember, this is the one where the last part has a weird, where it says interpret the data kind of question. I don't necessarily agree with it, but let's get the right answer. So all you got to make sure you know is, and just bubble that answer when you do it. Don't even worry about it. I didn't really completely agree with it. 120 to 129 looks like 5 to me. No, 139. Oops, they almost screwed up. It'd be 120 to 139. So I believe that's 7. Almost screwed up. 140 to 159. That's why I got 30 or so delightful assistants out there in cyberspace. Next week would be in person to yell at me if I'm doing something wrong here. I like 6 there. $160 to $179. I find this more fun than actually counting them up. I see 6 there. $180 to less than 200. About running out now. Almost have to even highlight them. 2 of those and 2 of the next one. All right, come on, green check mark. Give me a fantastic. Fantastic. All right, so far so good. Percentage distribution, what does it say, 2 decimal places? Okay, what I would just do here is this wasn't 347 6622. Let me try to remember that. 347 6622 in any spreadsheet. Yeah, it could have been on any of those open spreadsheets. So here's the deal way we did earlier. We're just gonna, sum it up, give me a total. Oh, it was already defined as 30 there, wasn't it? Okay, so this is going to be equals C1 divided by the totals and, oh, not C1. I got it. I forgot I went at the top of the page, which I don't have to be, as long as I identify the right cell, which I was not, well, which I wasn't about to do. So somebody's just about ready to scream at me, weren't they? But I caught it. Yeah, I don't know why I just thought I was at the top. Okay, that's fine though. So that should be okay. And we're going to format these little fellers to 2 decimal places because that's what my math lab wants, 2 decimal place percentage. And it's too bad I can't just cut and paste these answers. 10. I'm trying to do these off memory here. So 2020, okay, these should be fine. Sometimes when things divide evenly and these things, they don't, I probably didn't have to put the decimals there, but you know what? I wouldn't take a chance. Do it. All right, let's see how we did. Yeah, this part is weird because this is a cumulative. It makes no sense to start the cumulative at 80 because we know there's nothing below 80. So, but that's okay. It doesn't line up right in my view. I would have started it. Well, first of all, if I was putting this kind of question on test, I would have it. I would do the format would look just like the one above it does. But less than 80 is 0. I probably don't need 0.00. Now, the next one is in the first row. So the next one's where, to me, is where it really starts. So the next one will be that first one, 10.00. So to me, that top one is completely unnecessary. Now, the next one's going to be the first 2 added together. I'll try to get these right in my head here. I don't suggest, you might not want to try to do it that way, but probably not. So let's see, I think it's 46.66. And then 66.66, 86.66, 93.33. And obviously that one's got to be 100 because you're always finishing at 100. So it's adding up all the less than or equal to's. Check answer. Got it. Yes. This is the one I didn't like. I mean, I would have put, my answer to this would have been, where is it kind of centered around 120 to 180 looks like the answer to me. If I was just looking at this, because you see, those are the 3 that have the 20s percentages in it. But it's actually 100 to 180. No, it's 120 to 180 was there. I guess maybe the numbers are different this time, but I've done it one time where it wasn't. Okay, well that would work. But I mean, I don't know what kind of numbers you'll get there, but it didn't have 120 to 180. It had like 100 to 180. Hopefully this will be right. Okay, well, that one was okay. It was okay now, but I've had it haven't been an issue before. So, all right, one more, then we're done. Yes, this one is, numerically would be kind of challenging. So I'm about to tell you right now how to make this problem super, super, super easy. Well, easier, let's put it that way. Because it's because those numbers are so small and with all the decimals, and trying to figure out how many fit in that interval could be a little tricky. but I'm gonna show you how we're gonna repair this damage here. I'm gonna show you a little math trick. I'm gonna take because the largest number of decimal places is 4. I'm going to multiply each number in that column by 10,000. In other words, we're going to get rid of the decimals. And as long as I get rid of the decimals, same way in the data as I do in the intervals, and everything's multiplied by the same number, it's the same thing. It will be amounts will be the same. So I'm going to take A1, multiply it by 10,000. And then I'm going to do that all the way around. Now, I learned something valuable the last time I did this. I didn't, it didn't want to sort properly because this is a formula column. So what I did is I copied over to here, paste values. So if you're working with the numbers and not the formula, yeah, I wasn't sorting it right and I couldn't figure it out at first, then I figured it out. So I'm going to go data sort here. It'll work for this column. Continue. It should work. Yeah, but it didn't do it right with the formula column. Now, one thing I can't multiply it in the problem because it's so now I have to take these values and let's see, zeros, negative, and I'll type them in a spreadsheet. Same spreadsheet. Negative 0.00. Oh. Negative 0.0. Get a back keyboard. All right, then it's going to go. Yeah, because this one could have been really, really challenging, more challenging without doing what I'm doing here. Those tricky little numbers are harder to tell where they fit. One and then 0.001. 3. 0.005. So now I'm going to take, well, it doesn't matter where I put them, but let's do it over here, I guess. I'll go equals E1 times. So I got to do all these by 10,000. And let's see if I can drag that over and make a copy F. Yeah, I did. Now, the problem has just gotten much more pleasant. So now we have new intervals, new data. So now you're just trying to figure out -50 to -30 without including -30, though. Once again, whenever you see it like that, let's see how it's worded in the problem. It should say but less than. Yeah, there you go. So once again, you just have to remember that it doesn't include. So now it's easy to go through here and count how many. Oh, there's only one there. One. So I'll put the frequencies right there. How many between -30 and then not including -10? So I'll go to -15. My count says 15. I mean, I would never like torch you or something like this on an exam, but I think it's a good, good learning, makes you have to think a little bit, and nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I would not want this to be like under exam pressure or anything. Count 12. And to 30, so 10 to 25. There's no 25, so it's just 10 to 20. That count says 15. And then 30 to 50. And what, 7 or 8 here? Let's see. 7. Now I'm going to check the total just because in case the problem tells me how many there were. That way I know what I'm matching up to. Just to check that. 50, okay. Hopefully it says there were 50 problems, 50 values. Then we know we're probably good. 50 steel parts. Okay, so that's good. And then that should be our answers for those. What is it? Let's go. 1, 15, 12, 15, 7. We'll see how we did. Yes. Got it. So we outsmarted the problem basically. So you can keep your little decimal numbers there to be able to answer this question. So that does mean just because we converted the numbers, that still means though there would only be the same numbers that would actually decimal numbers that would fit right in there. We didn't alter any of the data. We just transformed it to easier numbers to work with. Was that the, oh, continue. Percentage distribution. That's easy enough to do, right? Equals, oh, J1 divided by J6. Right. Drag that down. Let's see what that question is here. And give me a second. And then I need to percentage. I guess it wanted to. I don't know. We can always, well, there's zeros. We can always cut them off. Oh, good information. Yeah, it's kind of handy. I don't know where that come in useful, but it's just nice to know that you get. Yeah, you might would have thought, and I can understand why somebody would have thought. Am I allowed to manipulate things like that? But notice the key was everything got the same multiple. That's what made it mathematically equivalent. That was the key. If I did 1 by 10,000, something by 1,000, then I completely messed the problem up. So.
Professor, what'd you type to get the 2% again?
Well, that's after the formatting the cells. You mean before I did that? I typed in J1 divided by $J, $6, and then drug it all the way down. But this is just the conversion. This is just the format to decimal right over here. Format cells, percentage.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, when I did it, it was decimals. It was like 0.2 and 3. Yeah, they were 0.02, 0.3. So they were decimals that I just converted to percentage. So yeah, if you just did it by dividing, you're going to see decimals there. So let's see, what does it want? You're very welcome. Let's see, what do we got here? I'm assuming it's going to take whole number percentages. It's not asking for decimals and everything's whole number. 2, 30, 24, 30, 14. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. 2, 30. Oh, I can actually do them. All I got to do is it's because it's divided by 50, doubling those numbers that are up there. You don't have to know that. It's another little math trick I know from 1,000 years of experience. Yeah. Okay. So I know this will be okay. Excellent. Is there more of this thing here? The cumulative. Once again, it's got that extra row I don't care for. So it's going to be 0. Why they do that's beyond me. And then now it's going to be, so this one will start with 2. 2 plus 30 will be 32. 32 plus 24 will be 56. Keep adding the next number. 56 plus 30 will be 86. And the last one better equal 100. That's one thing for sure. The last one's got to finish at 100. There's more of this. Somebody make it stop. Oh, here we go. This is where it gets, a little tricky sometimes. Let's see. Do I have to go back to the specify? Guys. Well, all of the lengths are what is it asking me here? All of them are between minus 0.005 and plus, I guess, unless I'm missing something. The steel mill, I'm gonna say is doing all right. The auto manufacturer wants it to be with them plus. Okay. Well, if I got this right, there was just kind of nothing to it. But if I'm wrong, then there's okay. Okay, so all right. That was it. I was looking to try to read more into it, and I needed to, but okay, that pretty much wraps it up here. We're done for the day here. So let me what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna you feel free to stick around. I'm gonna go ahead and probably pause or stop the record, or at least pause it, because anything else now probably you want to ask individually. You don't feel like we have to put on the recording or whatever. So let me see how to figure this out here. I know it's over here somewhere. Pause recording.